Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Griffiths, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. This week's guest, a player in the Swedish third division, now in his third season at that level, Alex Mapp, steps into the 11. I love this show because I love telling the stories about people's careers and their journeys and just themselves as people in general. And as Alex and I speak about on the episode here, Alex has a story in which, as he even says, there was probably a period for a year and a half where he felt like there was a contract right there waiting for him, and for whatever reason, could not get pen to paper for a variety of different things, as we'll talk about in the episode here. And so to be in a situation like that, especially after the college career that he had preceding that time, to see him now at the professional level is a really cool thing to watch, especially now knowing the full context of his story. And Alex has so many great tips, so many good pieces of advice for footballers who are trying to go on the professional journey. And I think he is yet another example of a player who shows you that there's a lot of different ways to get to the professional level, and no two paths are the same. So I would encourage you to listen to this episode. I would encourage you to support it, like it, share it, comment, subscribe, do all the things that you do when it comes to whether you view it or listen to it on whatever platform you are on. So thank you so much for your guys' support. Check out this episode with myself and Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, back with another episode. Stepping into the 11 this week is Alex Mapp. I appreciate this one. We've been definitely kind of going back and forth with calendars and schedules for the past couple of weeks, couple of months, trying to get it sorted. As we just mentioned there before we started recording, it's always tricky when you're in the middle of the season. Schedules are kind of constantly changing and evolving as it goes on, especially as you just mentioned to me yesterday when you have nearly a 10-hour travel day combining with a match in one day. So I always appreciate anyone that can take the time out of a busy season schedule to come on and do the pod with me. So I appreciate it and looking forward to this one.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like you said, we've been trying to make this happen for a couple months now. So I'm glad that we finally found the time and got the opportunity to do this. So thank you again for having me on, and definitely looking forward to kind of telling my story and my experience so far in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long has it been in total since you've actually been in Europe? As far as I know, you've been with this same club in Sweden since your kind of arrival onto the pro game and into Europe, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So coming up on 2 years now that I first arrived in Sweden. So I came in July of 2021. And yeah, this will be, so the first year that I came at the mid-season break, the halfway point. So I was here for the second half of the season, and that was actually my club's first season and the third tier over here, which they call Eton.
Mm-hmm.
So we did very well. That was, like I said, my club's first year in this league, and we finished with the highest point totals ever in the history of the league for a newcomer. So we had some great success in our first year, and then came back again last year. And honestly, they just kind of what people say. Second year is always the hardest to kind of stay up. So we started the season out well last year, and then just kind of through injuries and losing different personnel and stuff like that, kind of struggled as the second half of the season went on, but managed to just stick together as a group and team. And we stayed up, which was just the biggest thing. Obviously, that was our goal to start the season. So we were able to do that. And then I re-signed again, and this is now my third year back here. So we're about 10, 11 games into the season. So I was just mentioning to you before we hopped on here, it's been a pretty good start overall. It's a brand new team this year, but we've played some good football, and just results really haven't gone our way. But I feel like, I see it every day in training and all that. So we're doing the right things, and I feel like we're really, really close. So yesterday, got a big result, 3 points away from home. So hopefully that can kind of be a turning point, and we can go on a little run here in the last 3-4 games before our midseason break. So, but yeah, been crazy. That's already 2 years that I've been here in Sweden so far.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious as well that start to that. I know it's obviously Sweden kind of handled COVID a little bit differently than other places in Europe, but still in 2021, what was that like having that be your first time of coming overseas and trying to sign a contract?
Yeah, so actually, like you said, it was a crazy time with COVID and all that because when the opportunity first came about, it was actually the fall of 2019. So I can kind of go into my college background later down the road, but long story short, like I said, it was fall 2019. The opportunity first kind of came about, and I was dealing with an injury at the time. So the plan was I was going to have bilateral sports hernia surgery at the start of 2020, and then I was going to travel to Sweden to this club who at the time was in the fourth tier. Just obviously it was kind of a way to get my foot in the door in Europe and kind of what I'd always been dreaming
Hmm.
for and stuff like that. So like I said, that was the plan. I was going to have surgery at the start of 2020. And then for sports hernia surgery, it's really not that bad of a recovery. I mean, to have a surgery like that. So 3 to 4 months typically. So the plan was I was going to arrive to Sweden in around April of 2020 when everything was kind of good with my recovery and all that. But obviously, as you know, COVID happened and that changed the plans quite a bit. So all the travel restrictions and stuff like that, it kind of took a while for it to all come to fruition. And we finally be able to attain a work visa and figure out the travel restrictions and get over here. So yeah, once I finally made it, it was good just because obviously, like you said, they never really kind of had all the lockdowns and stuff here. They kind of gave people, advice and like what they should be doing and all that. But yeah, it was kind of, for the most part, everything was normal when I got here, which was obviously nice coming from America, for when we were in that time for so long where, we had restrictions and all that, the masks and stuff. So crazy time. But yeah, took a while for it to, like I said, finally all come together and we get the chance to figure out a way to finally get over here.
Yeah, and as you spoke there about your college experience, it seems like even that jump to the professional game for you was one that was maybe on paper when it first came about seemed like an easy, straightforward thing, and then obviously when it actually came to fruition, it was later than expected, and kind of circumstances were different. As I kind of did research and looked at your college experience and your college resume, it seemed like that was a crazy one on paper to kind of go through those 4 or 5 seasons that you played college soccer. Can you talk to me a little bit? I know obviously you started at Akron University, which is, I'm sure, from being a kid from Ohio, was an amazing feeling to kind of go into that type of program. How did that come about, and what was that like to play for a school like that?
Yeah, so definitely, like you said, for people who don't know, I grew up basically in the backyard of the University of Akron. I grew up in a place called Medina, Ohio, which is about 25 minutes from Cleveland and 25 minutes from Akron. So a great area in the Midwest, which I mean, I think it's a huge hotspot for soccer. So much talent in the area and stuff like that. So I kind of grew up in like the DA phase. So my freshman year of high school, just kind of backtrack a little bit. I played for my high school team, and then, like I said, that was like the DA phase. So going into my sophomore year is kind of when they had that rule where they were turning the developmental academy into a 10-month season. So you would lose your high school eligibility if you decided to do that. So at the time in high school, obviously, I kind of had dreams and hopes of, playing at a high D1 level and stuff. That's kind of, what every kid in America, I feel like, pushes and has aspirations for when they're growing up is obviously that's kind of, your best path to pro, kind of, or at least it was when I was growing up. So my sophomore year, I tried out and joined International Soccer Academy. Like I said, we played in the DA at the time, which was great. They had the U16s and U18s. So there's, I think, 55 or 60 teams in the country, and they had to split up into conferences. So we would travel and, cover the entire country and play games and stuff. So it's where all the top players at the time were playing and stuff. So it's obviously where all the top schools and the coaches were watching and recruiting. So that was a great experience. And obviously being in Akron's backyard, I kind of had the opportunity to, be in their eyes, a lot. They were at quite a few of our training sessions during the week, and then at our matches at the weekend, they'd always have someone from the staff there watching and stuff like that. So between that and then attending the summer camps growing up, I had good success when I would go and do the residential camps in the summer and kind of got on the radar that way. And then, like I said, playing in the developmental academy, was kind of finding success there and got in the radar and all that. And then I committed at the end of my junior year to Akron. And at the time, we had the number 2, I think, recruiting class in the country. It was. So definitely surrounded by a lot of great players from around the country that were going to come in and join. So I knew going in that it was obviously going to be tough. One, just competing with the class I was going in with on top of all the guys that are already there and established, because so I was going to be a freshman in 2016, but in 2015, they had just gone to the Final Four and played Stanford, who is, I mean, everyone knows that was when Stanford was really in there. I mean, they were a powerhouse. No one could really touch them. 3 years in a row, they were Final Four, College Cup, and it was just crazy what they were doing. So going into 2016, like I said, I knew that it was going to be very tough to break in, but it was definitely eye-opening and a jump. I mean, I was definitely privileged and lucky to play in the academy, like I said, in high school, and I feel like that, was also good for me to play against the best players in the country and kind of help with my development and stuff. But when I got to Akron, it was definitely, like I said, it was crazy playing with guys who have come from some of the top academies in the world. I mean, Liverpool, Florentina's, I mean, just Porto. I mean, some of the, like I said, Sporting Lisbon. I mean, absolutely crazy where these players were coming from. So it was definitely a dream that finally came true. It was, like I said, kind of always wanted to end up at Akron. And so when I finally made that decision to commit, it was great and went in there, and very cool experience just kind of to be surrounded in an environment like that with guys who all have the same hopes and aspirations of, going on to play pro and stuff. So being in a training environment like that day in and day out was a great experience. And I spent 2 years there, and yeah, it was awesome. I was counting up, I think before we did this interview, I think in my 2 years there, I played with 23 guys who went on to play pro at some level, which is, I mean, when you think about, that's insane. So
yeah,
even though I never found success on the field there for one reason or another, just with the guys who were in front of me, I think everything I learned at that program and the players I came across, and obviously just kind of the highs and lows, I think that was an experience that I'll never forget, and I'm very glad that happened for sure.
Yeah, I think to put it into perspective for other people that are listening that may not be really familiar with the college soccer kind of model, 23 players that you've come across that have now gone on to play at the professional level is an insane stat for for any program. Like that's very small company that's being kept at those types of levels. Like you said, it's maybe the Akrons, the Stanfords. Like the list gets very, very small when you think about that type of alumni that go on to play. And there's so many good college soccer programs out there, but it's that much more difficult to not only have success on the field, but also then produce players for the next level as well. Was there ever a moment when you kind of arrived at Akron that was like a wake up call, so to speak, or like, oh wow, this is a very different level than what I'm used to, or this is a whole different ball game that I need to kind of adjust to when maybe it was preseason or something like that?
Yeah, I would definitely say, because I was lucky, obviously, like I said, growing up in the backyard. I mean, when I finished high school my senior year in May, I mean, pretty much from like June 1st on, I was full go at Akron in the summer working with the strength and conditioning coaches and the other guys who were on campus. So it was kind of nice to go into preseason building that relationship already with like some of the coaching staff and guys on the team and all that. But yeah, I mean, when we got to preseason and stuff, and it was just, like I said, a different jump and all that. I think at the time we were also ranked 1 or 2 in the country going into the season. So high expectations and all that for sure. So obviously coming off of 2015, the goal again for 2016 with, we were predominantly a senior heavy team and we had good experience returning and stuff. The goal again was a national championship. So I think day one of preseason, just kind of being in that environment and just hearing, those words from the coaching staff that those are the expectations and stuff. And, every day you have to show up and you have to compete and you have to be the best that you can possibly be and, push guys who are in your position, who are playing and stuff. You have to, just know your role and do everything you can to contribute and help the team. So yeah, definitely a big jump from, obviously you're playing against older guys too. And like I said, guys who come out top academies in Europe and have just been at, a crazy high level. So coming from when I came from academy, it was definitely a big jump, but I mean, that's what I wanted to go to Akron for. I wanted to play with the best and be in an environment like that where I knew it was going to, help me mature as a person on and off the field and also as a player. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of already answered it for me there and obviously hindsight's 2020. But I know, as you mentioned, maybe there wasn't quite the same level of success that you were anticipating when it came to on the field at Akron. But if you look back at, that decision to choose Akron as a 17 or 18-year-old, would it still be kind of the same exact decision, even looking back on it today?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely would have, and I kind of always tell myself everything happens for a reason. So I feel like I
Yeah.
did end up at Akron. Just I was meant to go there and stuff, and everything that I learned from the highs, the lows, the failures, the setbacks, and stuff like that. I feel like that definitely all helped shape me into who I am today. And at the end of the day, no one asked me to leave Akron. It was just kind of a decision that I made on my own, and I knew that I kind of had some stuff going on at home, and I knew that I needed a new change of scenery and a new environment, a new challenge. So that was also one of the toughest decisions I've ever had to make because obviously, like I said, growing up in the backyard of Akron's campus and stuff, it was my dream to end up and go there. And I had aspirations of being an national champion at that school one day, and stuff like that was kind of what I grew up and wanted to achieve. So to leave there before I ever really felt like I got started and all that was, huge choice I had to make, but it was one that I knew was ultimately gonna help hopefully lead to where I wanted to end up today, which was playing pro. So I knew it was just something I kind of had to do for my career. So it's tough leaving my friends and all that I'd gotten really close with and all that, but it was just the best thing to do at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious if you would agree with this at all. I was speaking to a goalkeeper who plays in Norway, and he went to like a smaller Division 1 school and had some success, but didn't, wasn't from a big program, wasn't a starter from minute one when he came in. And we were kind of talking about how sometimes we feel as though the players that face that adversity earlier on in their careers, maybe, similar to yourself, where you face that adversity when you're at Akron and then kind of have to navigate a new path for yourself, that almost sets you up that much more for success at the professional level because you're accustomed to, maybe hearing no or hearing things not going your way. Do you feel at all that maybe that time in college where it was kind of met with some different obstacles has really set you up that much better to, be accustomed to the pro game?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I think, like I said, going through those failures and, kind of setbacks and what I saw as failures at the time, because I wasn't, doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't playing and being a contributor at Akron like I really wanted to. So I think going through those then and just kind of, going through adversity and stuff where it almost just felt like I kind of let myself down that, I was kind of questioning, was I good enough? Like, can I play at this level? Like, I work so hard and I train and do all this, but I'm not really seeing, results and all that. So I think to kind of go through that setback and then kind of walk away and reflect and just kind of double back down and kind of think, you know what, no, I can definitely do this. So, um, yeah, I think that was definitely to go through setbacks earlier on in my career have helped definitely shape me and prepare me for the program for sure. Because a football career is a roller coaster. You're going to go through so many highs and they're going to be great, but you're also going to go through so many lows, which are, can be devastating. And so many footballers go through that, but you just got to find the balance and just kind of stay even keel and know that if you just keep doing the right things day in and day out, that ultimately you're willing to be patient and, stay true to your routine and the process and all that, that at the end of the day, something good's going to come from it.
So, as you mentioned those highs and lows, right, and you kind of alluded to already some of the reasons why you decided to leave Akron after your time there in those 2 seasons. Was your time then transferring and finding that new school and going to play at Ashland? Is that where you maybe started to get a little bit of that confidence back and start to feel maybe a bit of a uptick in that roller coaster kind of analogy that you just used, where found your footing a little bit more, started to be able to prove again to yourself that yes, I can play at the level. Yes, I am the player that I kind of once thought that I was.
Yeah, exactly. And when I left Akron, this is honestly kind of where, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and the story kind of gets a little interesting for sure. So when I got my release from Akron, I originally was like committed to college at Charleston down in South Carolina, and kind of like you said, had talked to others, few schools when I was in that transfer process and all that, and kind of really hit it off well with the College of Charleston coach. He was a guy who had been at that program for a while, and obviously they had strong ties with the Charleston Battery and stuff like that, and he just really kind of seemed like he had a lot of belief in me and wanted to give me a second chance, and was going to give me a big leadership role, and I was really looking forward to going there and all that. So I had been, it was probably a week went by that I committed and was planning on going there. And then all of a sudden one day I got a text from the assistant coach saying, "Can you call me immediately?" And obviously when you see a text like that, it's like, ooh, your heart kind of drops a little bit. You don't know what it's going to be about. So he calls me and he's like, "Yeah, unfortunately, we've kind of got some bad news." He said that they had misread my credits when they were doing the the transfer process and all that, and I was going to be pretty far off of what they thought, and it was going to be a little bit of a stretch to get me eligible for that upcoming year. So they said I was going to have to take like a full load of summer classes and take a lot of the business classes over that I'd already taken at Akron. So that was kind of, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited to finally go to this great school that was connected to, a good pro environment and opportunity and stuff like that. And, was really looking forward to going there to have something like that happen. It was, just felt really unlucky at the time. And I kind of weighed everything and wanted to make it work. But at the end of the day, it just didn't really make sense to lose that many credits and all that at the end of the day. I actually wanted to go there for a great footballing opportunity, but getting a degree and having all that in your back pocket is very important too. So I just kind of weighed all my options, and I had to tell them that I was very thankful for the opportunity and all that, but it just wasn't going to work out. So at this time, it was also, keep in mind, I got my release in the spring of my sophomore year. So this is probably like middle of May now, going into the summer, and a lot of the coaches at this point already have, their rosters and teams made up for the fall. That's, it's late. They've got all their recruits that are in high school and all that. They've hit the transfer portal and all that. So I was kind of scrambling too, just because I had told the other schools that I was talking to that I said I'd already made my decision and I was going to go to college at Charleston. So some of the options that I did have previously were gone just because, a week had gone by and I had let them know that I was going to another school. So I was definitely scrambling a little bit, but thankfully, like I said, this is kind of where the story changes and starts to get interesting. But like I said, everything happens for a reason. So at the same time, there's two other guys from my Akron team that were transferring to Ashland because one of our assistant coaches and the guy who actually was the main guy who recruited me to go to Akron right before I went into Akron my freshman year in 2016, he had taken the head coaching job at a school called Ashland, which was a Division II school about 45 minutes from Akron's campus. So they were just bringing back their program, and he was going to go be the head coach and start it back up again. So Ashland's a smaller D2 school, but unbelievable with the facilities that they have and their investment in athletics and academics and stuff. So I reached out to him, and thankfully the offer is still kind of on the table to go there. And he, same thing, welcomed me with open arms and stuff, and kind of just had belief in me to give me a second chance and give me a big leadership role and all that. So I obviously was just very thankful and excited after everything that kind of happened and fallen through with College of Charleston. I was just very, very thankful that I did finally find something that worked and was going to get the chance to go play somewhere with someone who believed in me and, was going to have a lot of trust in me. So yeah, it was, like I said, definitely a lot of emotions that summer when I got my release. Just, I thought I was going to go one place, and then it kind of fell through, and then didn't think I was going to have, any real options available. And then to kind of end up the way it did and stay close to home, which is probably for the best at the time, with everything that I kind of had going on with my family and stuff, to still be close by. So yeah, it worked out great. And like I said, to go there too with two guys who I had played with previously at Akron, it honestly couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, it's always fascinating. Like I said, just on paper, it seems as if the story has a lot of twists and turns. But obviously, that's why I'm so curious to hear kind of about your college experience, because I'm sure there's so much more details to it and so much more intricacies to that process. And when you go from playing at a school like Akron, and then again, like you said, you think you're now going to Charleston, where again it's still a very high level. There's also connections to the pro game, and you still feel like you're kind of building momentum, I guess, in that regard. And then everything gets kind of thrown to the wayside, and now you have to go a different route. What's the emotions that you have going into that program? Is there just that much more motivation to kind of put all your efforts into the game and prove to this coach and prove that this is the opportunity that was worth it for you to take on? Or, as a term you mentioned, there's probably a little bit of a down moment, but I have to imagine there's that quick turnaround and like, okay, I can't dwell on these things that have passed me by. I need to take the step forward and kind of push on here.
Yeah, exactly. And that was definitely a tough one to take, obviously. And like I said, I really didn't know what I was going to do when I got that call from the College of Charleston coach. And, I really thought I was going to be in a tough place because I'd already told all the other schools that I was talking to that I'd made my choice, and, a lot of the offers and money that was available were all gone now. And I was really scrambling. And yeah, I could have gone somewhere, but it would have been at a, much higher cost. And who knows if things would have turned out the same. So obviously when everything came together with Ashland and, a coach that had known me very well and all that, I just couldn't have been more thankful. And I thought, I think honestly, this is kind of the way everything's supposed to play out. Maybe I wasn't meant to go to College of Charleston. And so just the way that it all did work out was unbelievable, and very thankful that, like I said, I was kind of welcomed with open arms and given such a big, role to kind of come into a new program and be such a leader right off the bat and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I really just used it as motivation, just kind of as a second chance. And I knew that this was kind of, if I wanted to have a real go at ever making, a jump into the program, the pro game, that this is, an opportunity that I really need to grab with both hands and do everything I can to make sure I'm fit, I'm healthy, and I go into this new season with my new team with a point to prove, and just do all I can to be a good leader and role model for my new teammates. And also, like I said, it was only the third season that this program was brought back by the school. So we ended on going to have a very good first year that I was there. In 2018, we started the season a little bit slow just because obviously it was kind of a new group of guys and we were trying to figure things out. But we really found some momentum in the second half of the season, and we went on to win our conference and make the NCAA tournament. I won conference MVP in our conference tournament, which was, a great feeling just after everything that had happened and I'd been through and all that, just to kind of prove to myself that, if you just dig in and you believe in yourself and you work hard, that there is always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And, football changes so quick. So it was good to, like I said, I wasn't really playing my first 2 years of college at Akron either. So to get back on the field and, prove that I could be one of, the most influential players and a leader and stuff like that my first year back at a new program was, really great. And I think that's kind of what gave me the confidence to kind of kick on and really have a full, like I said, the dream's always been to play pro, but I think that was really what kind of gave me the belief that, and just the other, I was seeing it from other people too, that, if you keep doing well, training hard, that, you're probably going to have chances and an opportunity to do things that you've always wanted to do.
As you reflect on your time in college and maybe also even think of it from the perspective of another player who may be coming up out of high school or is in a transfer kind of process, what are the things that you really think make a college career successful with the lens of trying to go professional afterwards, right? Because I think you experienced both sides of the argument, whereas you were at one of the top programs and being around the best players in a really great environment, but then you were also in a place where you could really showcase yourself and you were kind of had the spotlight more on you. And I think both of those things are really valuable in kind of building a resume towards a pro career. Like you need that high environment, but you also need to have the spotlight shown on you a little bit and have some of the accolades and things like that. Like where do you kind of fall on that maybe process looking back at your college career?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And honestly, I would say I wouldn't change anything in my path or what's kind of happened throughout my career. I feel like I've said this multiple times now, but I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I'm thankful for everything that I kind of went through at Akron and then the opportunity that I was given at Ashland. But I feel like for any young player out there that's kind of, looking to get into that college environment, it's just, there's so many important factors that go into making that decision. Because obviously it's such a big one to make. And just football aside, you have to make sure that you're liking the environment you're going to. It's the right school for you. You like the team. You can find something that you're going to study and enjoy. And just, there's so many different things because, life's not, yeah, you got to focus on football if you want to, have a career in the program and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's so many different factors that go into it off the field. So you got to make sure that you can choose a place that's going to be best for you and you're going to be happy if things go wrong. So I would say those were two huge things for me, because obviously when things weren't really going well for me at Akron, I was still happy there. I had a great group of guys I was around, and I had good facilities and environments that I could still get my extra work in and, help progress my game and stuff like that, even though I wasn't, playing and stuff like that. And then same thing when I went to Ashland, it was another good fit. I knew that I was going to be close to home. I loved the campus. The academics were unbelievable. The athletic facilities were, probably better than majority D1 schools that you'll come across. So you just really got to find that balance and what's best for you. But at the end of the day, it's good to kind of push yourself and reach outside of your comfort zone and be in an environment like that that's going to really test you. But you just got to find what's best for you. So I'm thankful that I was kind of do both and find the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there about the holistic experience of college and not always just the football part of it. And, I think you already spoke to this a little bit earlier on in the episode, but was this right around the time that kind of this first professional opportunity for you came about with Sweden, like right around that second season of Ashland kind of coming to a conclusion?
Yeah, and kind of like I said, this is me going to Ashland's all part of the story of me kind of coming to fruition with coming to Sweden. So my coach at Ashland, who, like I said, was the guy who recruited me to go to Akron at first, he was an English guy from Manchester. And in 2018, when I first went to Ashland, he had a friend who had managed in the championship in England, been a top agent in Europe, took players to huge clubs. Like he took Owen Hargreaves to Man United, players to Galatasaray, stuff like that. So he had this guy who had moved to America just because he had gotten out of the program or the pro game and was, looking to kind of move to America and just do some youth coaching, get away from everything for a bit, and just kind of, experience the American life. So he was from Manchester as well, so he had a good relationship with my coach at Ashland, and he would be in and around our trainings and stuff, come to our games a little bit and just kind of help out and share his knowledge and stuff. So him and I kind of started to get along very well, and that's kind of how we first kind of came across and built a relationship with each other. And then, like I said, so after 2018, when we won our conference tournament with Ashland, going into 2019, that was going to be my fourth year of college, but I had a fifth year because I had redshirted my first year at Akron. So in 2018, I had started to kind of deal with some groin pain, like I alluded to earlier. I told you I had the bilateral sports hernia surgery. So in 2018, I had started dealing with all that. And then 2019 progressively got worse and couldn't really figure out what was going on or what the issue was. So going back and forth between doctors and stuff like that throughout the fall season. Couldn't really get fit or get healthy with all the rehab that I was doing and stuff. So at the end of my fall 2019 season, it was at the point where I knew that rehab wasn't going to cut anymore and I had to do something else. So I decided that I was going to go ahead with the bilateral sports hernia surgery. And I was going to do that at the end of, as soon as I could, my season finished. So by the time I finally got everything sorted out, it was scheduled to be January 2020 that I was going to have my surgery. So right around the end of fall 2019, this guy, his name is Andy, who I told you my Ashland coach put me in contact with, and I kind of met through him. He told me that he was going to have an opportunity to go get back in the coaching game, and he was going to go to Sweden and become a coach of this club in the fourth division. And honestly, fourth division here in Sweden, it's not considered like the elite level, like the first through three tiers are. So smaller club, but I knew it was a good opportunity to kind of get my foot in the door in Europe. That's kind of everything I'd ever wanted, was just a chance to kind of see if I could play pro in Europe. So
yeah.
He told me he thought that I could definitely do well at that level with everything he'd seen in America, and he knew what I was like. I took care of my body very well. I was always doing extra training, always in the gym, and I just really wanted to always be the best I could be. So he saw that, took note of it, and when he got that chance, like I said, that was around the end of fall 2019. The plan was I was going to have my surgery at the start of 2020, and then forego my fifth year, my redshirt year of college eligibility, and move to Europe and start the pro dream. But obviously, like I said, had the surgery at the start of 2020, and then COVID happened in March and put everything on hold. And it was quite a while before I finally found my way over here. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all finally started to come to fruition and together, was after my second year at Ashland in 2019, when I had that connection from the guy that my college coach knew.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny sometimes to think back about your decisions and how, you kind of trace along the path and you think, well, if I never had made this one, I never would have, met this person or had this opportunity. And again, it's kind of the perfect, I guess, saying of this episode. And I think it's definitely something that I agree with when it comes to my career as well, is that everything happens for a reason. And so I think it doesn't do us any good as people, but especially as footballers, to think about the what ifs of, oh, what if I had done this, that, and the other, because you just have to kind of think about all the good things that have come about from the decisions that you have made. And so then I'm curious, with that part of you have that opportunity, right? And then you have the surgery. Is there a thought process of like, once I get healthy, let me try and just get ready for that Sweden opportunity when the next kind of window comes around for it to come about, or seek out a different professional opportunity? Because I know you kind of made the decision to then go to Coastal Carolina for that 5th year that you had of the eligibility.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, after the fall of 2019, also my coach at Ashland, Oliver Slauson was his name. He had got the opportunity to move on to Coastal Carolina and become assistant coach down there. So, contributing with my opportunity to be able to potentially go to Sweden and start a pro career in Europe, I had made the decision to get the surgery and completely withdraw from taking classes and attending Ashland University, just so I could focus on my rehab, my recovery process, and get me as prepared as I possibly could be for this everything I had always been working for. So I completely stopped taking classes, and like I said, after that fall semester, and then when COVID started in March, obviously, like I said, the plan, I was going to leave in April anyway, so I wasn't enrolled in any classes or anything for that spring semester. I was kind of on standby with this club here in Sweden. We were trying to make everything work out, but we didn't know what was going to happen with travel restrictions or being able to obtain a work visa or anything like that. So there was just a lot of question marks, but I knew the only thing that I could do was just control what I can control. So thankfully, I was back home and I had a great place where I was able to continue doing my rehab every day. I had a great athletic trainer who, got me in probably the best shape that I've ever been in. It's honestly probably a blessing that I had that surgery when I did, just because I had some extended time to really focus on my body and some problem areas that had been, causing me some pain for some years now. So between that and then also having access to some great facilities in Northeast Ohio to continue training at, with also, not only some pro players, but top Division I boys and girls players from, you name the school, all across the country. So during that COVID period, even though I didn't really know what was next for me and there was so much uncertainty, like I said, I know the biggest thing that I could do was just control what I can control. So that was just getting fit, working hard, and just being ready for when that opportunity did come, that, I was going to be able to just go and grab it with both arms and make the most of it. So it got to a point where I think it was finally June then of 2020. They kind of sorted everything out here in Sweden and they started the league. So at the time, the coach who I knew from America came over here, and they were in the 4th division at the time, my club, and they played a shortened season in 2020, and they managed to win the league and get promoted to Eton, which is the 3rd division here in Sweden. So that's considered elite level and all that, and honestly, it was fantastic. So, but at the same time, there's still so many travel restrictions and all that, so I didn't know when I was going to be able to get over. So we were still kind of aiming for, what would it have been, spring of 2021, like kind of that area where I could hopefully get over for the start of preseason for that 2021 season, when they were going to first make the jump up to Aton. But we still couldn't get everything together with the work visas and the travel process and all that. So instead of me just being at home training, not being in team environment or anything, my previous coach, Oliver from Ashland, thought that there was going to be a strong chance that they were going to be able to find me a way to get me eligible at Coastal Carolina University. So I thought, that's great. Get me back in team environment. And it was also during, like I said, the COVID season. So they had that split season where
Yeah.
Coastal is actually one of, I think, maybe one or two conferences in the entire country that played in the fall. So they had played in the fall, won their conference, and had an automatic bid already for the spring NCAA tournament. So I thought, this could be great. Go into Coastal, have 4 or 5 months to, go in, be a contributor on a team that's already going to be, qualified for the NCAA tournament. And honestly, this is going to get me ready to be back in a team environment, play games, get me fit for hopefully the summer then when I'm able to travel and go to Sweden. So got down to Coastal Carolina University and thought I was good to go. And unfortunately, had some trouble with the admissions and all that again and my NCAA waiver. So they were never able to get me cleared. But at the end of the day, it was kind of very unfortunate again to run into that roadblock where I wasn't able to play matches and stuff because obviously it had been a while that since I had done that. Because like I said, I withdrew from Ashland at the end of the fall 2019 semester. So fast forward to spring 2021, it's been a long time since I've played, a competitive game and stuff like that. And even though I had some great places to train and I was playing organized, like 11v11 games and stuff back home with top level players, there's just nothing that really compares to playing a real match and stuff like that. So even though I didn't get to play at Coastal, still for, a very frustrating thing that kind of I couldn't really control, it was still great for me to be back in a team environment like that and be around top players and stuff and prepare me for then July 2021 when travel restrictions were finally lifted and I was able to attain the work visa and finally get over to my club here in Sweden, who at the time, it was the halfway point of them in their first season in Eton, which is the third tier in Sweden here, like I said.
And talk to me a little bit about the environment kind of at Coastal Carolina, because I've always heard about the program in that it seems to always be like kind of, again, like speak about those college soccer programs that are at the top of the top. They seem to always be one of those perennial kind of powerhouses. And so I'm sure you kind of coming back to that level must have been there some excitement with that as well. And as you said, also leading up into your professional kind of aspirations, that was also a big part of getting back into a team environment, getting you fully prepared for that. But I've heard, I even had a teammate a year or two ago who actually was a freshman going into Coastal Carolina. And there always seems to be so many top players that are there, but in a way, it sometimes seems to be a bit of a revolving door where lots of players come in, transfer out, that type of thing. And I'm just curious a little bit to learn about that kind of specific program or what it was like when you were there. Obviously, I know frustrating not being able to play and really get the full experience of it, but what was the training like, or what was just the environment of that program like?
Yeah, and I think I was definitely very lucky, like I said, to be able to go to Coastal at the time that I did. It was exactly what I needed to prepare me for, hopefully going to Sweden, starting my pro career. So it was unbelievable to be back in an environment like that. And not to say that like it was different at Ashland, but just, be back at the Division I level that's, pretty much the elite of the elite. I mean, their tournament history speaks for itself and all the success that they've had and the pro players that they've also gone on to produce. It was just very reassuring to be back in that environment and know that I could play. And I mean, the plan was I was going to contribute and play, a big part hopefully in their tournament run and all that. So, frustrating not to be able to play, but my experience was fantastic. I think I learned a lot from the coaches in the short amount of time that I was there. And it was just good to kind of learn from a different perspective. It was definitely differently run than the environment that I was used to at Akron and Coastal. But I think obviously it's an environment that definitely works. So kind of like you said, they do have a little bit of a revolving door there, but I feel like it's kind of hard not to. I mean, when you're living in Myrtle Beach and you're in a place like that, there's so many distractions off the field and stuff that I feel like if things aren't going well for, an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who's, I mean, you could be from the States, far away from home. You could be, somewhere from Europe or wherever in the world you may be, and you're living that far away from home, and things aren't going well on the football field. I think there's definitely a lot of distractions at that school that, guys may find their way into some trouble or, just kind of think, all right, maybe this whole football thing isn't for me, and, I'm just going to be a normal student and stuff like that. So, it's tough, but I think, honestly, my experience was fantastic. Trainings were great. Facilities were unbelievable, and you can't really be training in 75, 80-degree weather from January to May down by the beach. So it was unbelievable. Grass pitches and stuff like that. And think same thing in the 4 or 5 months that I was there, just for that one semester. I think we had, let's see, probably 5 or 6 guys that went on to play pro. It's the same thing. I mean, trainings were unbelievable, and every day you had to show up and, be the best you could possibly be to, push each other and all that. And same thing with it being a split season. It was kind of a unique setting in itself, just because obviously they're one of the few teams that played in the fall, and they obviously had that tournament bid in the spring. So there's a lot of pressure and expectations again for that semester that I was there. So it was just being in a high level environment. I really enjoyed it. So it was great.
And now, so you've concluded your college career kind of up to this point as we go through the story, and it's had nearly everything, right? There a redshirt season, being at a top program, having success at the Division II level, scholarships that are offered and then they don't quite work out with the Charleston thing and a pandemic and a surgery and all these different things and not to mention too, I think is something that's very unique in that, as you mentioned here, football changes in an instant, right? So as you mentioned, that Sweden opportunity, when it first comes to fruition in 2019 kind of time period, for that still to have the exact same, coaching staff or front office people and all the same circumstances that allow you to sign a couple of years down the road is really a unique thing as well, especially for the lower levels of football. But when you now conclude your college soccer season, you finally get over to Sweden and you actually have pen to paper and you sign that contract and you're now a pro, like, is there even words to describe the emotions that kind of overcome you at that point in time?
Yeah, honestly, that was definitely a surreal feeling, just because obviously it had been something that I've always dreamed of and had worked for throughout my entire life. But then, especially when I thought finally at the start of 2020, everything had come together. I had some success in college. It kind of got me the opportunity to potentially move to Europe and, get in contact with a professional club and stuff like that. So to kind of think that I was going to sign as early as, the beginning of 2020 and then have to put that on hold until July 2021, almost a year and a half later you can only imagine what I went through in, that spell. But the only thing, like I said earlier, I knew the biggest thing that I could do each day was just control what I could control. So I was very thankful to that club here in Sweden. Like you said, they had great success in that 2020 season where they got promoted to the third tier. And also the coach, the board, they all still had a lot of belief in me, and they wanted to find a way to bring me over and, give me a chance, because I thought that same thing, I could come over here and contribute and help. So I was very thankful that they stayed true to their word and kind of had belief in, all that in me, that they stayed true to the process and were so patient as well, and were able to finally work everything out. But yeah, when it finally did all come together, it was just a great feeling. But at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, we just signed, let's get to work. This is the real stuff starts now. You got to show up. It's the same thing as college, but it's another jump. You have to show up every day, and this is people's livelihood. This is their job. So, you have to show up every day because there are people who want to take your positions and stuff. But yeah, just something that I'll never forget. And when I finally did get here to Sweden, it happened so quick. The work visa and all that, it was pretty straightforward getting me registered and all that, and came over at the halfway point of the season and finally got the green light and was good to go just in time for our first cup game right around that time. And I missed the first league game in the second half of the season just because paperwork wasn't done yet, but ready to go for the second game. And yeah, no looking back since. So it's been unbelievable. And yeah.
How would you look back and maybe characterize those first couple of weeks or first couple of months when you arrive in 2021? Because as you mentioned there, surely straight off the bat, there has to be that jump in kind of level of play that you're kind of feeling and getting adjusted to, but also so much else off the field that you're probably adjusting to, living in a new place, living new culture, new language, all those types of things. As you look back at that first kind of time period, is it one that you reflect on fondly because of all the excitement of all the new, or were there definitely some growing pains or bumps in the road with it?
Yeah, so there's definitely, of course, there's going to be ups and downs when I first moved over here. And but I feel like, kind of like you alluded to there was just so much excitement. I'd waited so long for this opportunity that I had kind of during that year and a half where there was so much uncertainty of whether I was going to be able to make it over here or not, that I just kind of mentally prepared myself for whenever this opportunity comes, I'm just going to be ready at, the snap of a finger to move over there and, just start this career and, really attack it and see what I can make of it. So I feel like I was, like kind of you said, once everything finally came together, I was just so ready and so relieved and excited that I was finally getting the chance that I never really looked back. I just kind of came over. But of course, I'm moving, to a different country, different time zone, stuff like that. I'm the only one over here. I don't have any friends or family with me or anything like that. So to kind of move over to Europe and start a new life was definitely a big change. And obviously in a place where, I don't speak the language or anything like that. There's definitely some tough days, but at the same time, it's been awesome. I feel like it's great to, what I'm learning off the field. It's life lessons that I'll take with me, for the rest of my life. So a lot of good things have come from it since I've been here. But the first few weeks were definitely a learning curve and stuff like that. Especially, obviously, you're the new guy in a team, you're the foreigner, you're the American, and there's just kind of a target on your back from day one, in training and stuff like that. Guys are, leaving a foot in, tackles, stuff like that. And also in the dressing room, then it's kind of difficult. You're going back in for showers and stuff, and, they're all speaking a language you don't speak. So it's kind of like, all right, well, are they talking about me? Like, they could be saying same thing. Like, was I the worst player in the session? Like, who knows? They could just be talking absolute shit about me, and I've got no idea. So it was definitely a little bit uncomfortable at first, just being, kind of the new guy in an environment like that. But I feel like once I started to kind of prove myself a little bit and get settled in with the team and get adjusted, that definitely made it very easy, because I was very thankful that I did come into a team who had some very good players and good guys who kind of took me under their wing and stuff like that, and kind of made adapting to life over here a little bit easier as well. But I play for a great club as well, who've also got some very nice people in and around it. So they made sure that I was taken care of kind of off the field and not just on my own so much. So very thankful for that. They did look after me and, not just kind of throw me in the deep end and say, all right, you just moved to a new country, 4,000 miles away from everything, and you're on your own. So they definitely did look after me, which was nice, but a lot of learning along the way for sure.
Yeah, you bring up a bunch of just really good points there, and how I think your experience can be completely different just based on club to club, because some clubs can be a lot more welcoming and friendly, and there's still a level of professionalism and kind of competitive edge to all the players, but just that off the field piece as well. And just like you said, I know I can attest to the exact same sentiment of being in places like Denmark, and you're kind of listening to conversations that you don't understand after training, and it's anytime you see someone take a glance at you, you're thinking, oh my gosh, are they talking about me right now? Are they saying that I was the worst player? That why am I even here? Et cetera, et cetera. And it can really start to weigh on you. Yeah. And I think it really does take a bit of resolve and just, I guess, resilience, in the sense that you need to kind of just show up and kind of be confident on a day in and day out basis. And even if it's sometimes a little bit of a fake it till you make it type confidence thing, until, as you said, you've kind of fallen into more of a rhythm with the team. Maybe there's some more conversations that you're having and you're starting to build more of a relationship. But that beginning part can kind of be a little bit of like the gauntlet is thrown down, and it's like, do you really want this? Are you willing to put up with some of the difficulties here to kind of get past that initial difficult spot? And then, it'll be a little bit easier, hopefully, for you as the time goes along.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely very tough at first. Honestly, you can attest, you've lived in different countries, and just being so far away from your family and friends, and when things, aren't going the best, it's not always easy to talk to people back home just with the time change and, stuff, whatever it may be. So you can definitely feel isolated, but I feel like the best thing you can do at the end of the day is, if you're in a new team environment, you just got to put yourself out there. I'm thankful that a lot of people here speak very good English. So for me, especially when I first came here, it was kind of nice just to be able to, kind of step outside my comfort zone and get used to being with new teammates and stuff that, you don't really know much about. So just speaking to them before training, after training, starting to do more stuff with them off the field. And, same thing with the long road trips and away trips and stuff like that. Just really start to get and talk to know them more and all that. I think it definitely goes a long way. So I feel like when I finally was, I don't want to use the word accepted because that probably just doesn't sound right, but I feel like when I kind of settled into
Yeah.
this team and club that I'm at now, it's been great. So I've really enjoyed my time here so far. And like I said, great club surrounded by a lot of very good people who have made my time here great so far, considering I'm so far
Yeah.
away from home. And people that know me know I'm definitely a homebody. So love being close to home with my family and friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really great advice that you bring up there, that it's almost like, I think as I look back at my time in Denmark, it was something that I didn't quite do well enough to like put myself out there kind of from the social aspect of it, right? Like I'm kind of very much like you, like my family is everything to me, my friends are everything. So like it being far away is difficult, but I almost feel as though taking that first step of, you've just moved to a new country, you're playing with a new team, there's all these things that are very difficult for you. It's almost like use the bravery, use the courage that you have to have taken all those steps, and just take that one extra step and, go start up a conversation with somebody in the team, or, even if it feels kind of awkward and maybe forced at first, like you've already done all the difficult things, right? You've moved across the world and you're trying to play professional football, which 0.00 however much of the population is really able to do. Why not go and do that extra one little hard piece of it, and go and try and befriend somebody on the team even in those early stages. um, I think it can really kind of change the way that first difficult time period plays out for you.
Without a doubt. And I feel like it's only going to help you as well. Obviously, I mean, the closer you are with your teammates and stuff, I mean, the more success I feel like you're going to have together on the field and stuff. So also just kind of looking back at the experiences I had in college and stuff. I mean, I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of guys from, I mean, all over the world, so different
Mm.
cultures, backgrounds, and stuff like that. And I just kind of put myself in their shoes when they were back in college, coming to America with no background, no familiarity, and not really knowing anyone or anything. So just kind of thinking, how they used to be and what I was like to them and how I treated them and stuff, and just kind of the way we used to get along. I think kind of transitioning that here to Sweden and all that, and that definitely helped a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely one of, as I reflect on college for me as well, definitely one of the, I think, best parts of college soccer in the States is at certain levels, you get such a diverse mix of people. I was just speaking to my coach the other day about it, and just to think, you have this team where you may have a German left back, a Brazilian forward, a Swedish winger, like an Argentinian, this, and an English center back, like it's very rare that you can, even at the professional level, it's very rare to get teams like that. So I think college soccer provides such a unique experience to that. And I guess I'm curious too as well, that jump that we're speaking about now to the professional game, and we've spoken about some of the hardships of it, but also some of the great things about it. Is there like, what's the biggest difference that you feel from the professional game to the college game? Because I think it's easy for everyone to say like, oh, it's tougher, it's faster, whatever the case may be. But I know, like, from my experience, I just, something about as soon as finances kind of come into it, and it's, this is how people are making their salaries, this is how, there's club investments, there's money at stake here. I don't know how to describe it to someone who hasn't done it before, but it's just, there's a different feeling to it. And I'm wondering if you can put it into words at all either.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you said it spot on. And there's definitely a difference to it, but I think the biggest thing that I've really noticed, and I feel like it's helped me since I've kind of made this jump to the pro game, is just you have to be so strong mentally. Just because,
Mm.
like we've talked about, football can change so quick. So there's so many ups and downs that you'll face in this game, whether it's getting dropped from the team, an injury, being far away from home, whatever it may be. I mean, anyone who plays the game knows what you'll go through and experience. So I feel like the biggest thing, honestly, is just being able to be mentally strong and know that if you have a setback or one thing's not really going your way, that that's it's not the end of the world. You just got to keep that balance and just keep doing the right things day in and day out. If you're consistent, you have a good routine, and you work hard, and you're dedicated, and you believe in yourself, then one person's opinion or one little setback's not going to truly define the whole picture of your career and all that. So I feel like that's something that I'm still definitely working on, but Yeah, you just really got to be mentally strong. And, I feel like that's kind of what the best footballers do. They make the right decisions at the right times. And when things aren't going their way, they stay true to who they are and they keep doing the right things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's going to get you to where you want to go, because it's never going to be a straight line to the top. I mean, like I said, you're going to have ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. But if you get knocked down 9 times, you just have to stand back up 10 times and just know that you just got to keep fighting and keeping on, because ultimately at the end of the day, people are experiencing, the same setbacks you are. But if they decide to quit, not push on, that's just one person you're kind of setting yourself ahead of. So you just kind of have that mindset and mentality that you're just not going to give up. You're not going to stop, and you just got to believe in yourself and know that not every day is going to be perfect. Not every week's going to be perfect. And I mean, not every month, year, whatever it may be, it's not going to be perfect. But if you just keep working hard and believing in yourself and do the right things, no storm's going to last forever. So you're always going to find a way to, break through and kind of have that light shine on you. So, like I said, that's probably just the biggest thing is the mental aspect to it. It's tough being away from your family, tough training sessions where you come home and you think, fuck, I didn't play well. And it eats away at you all day, and you've got no one to really talk to or anything. And it's just, you got to find that balance of, not, like I said, not every day is going to be perfect. And you just got to look at the bigger picture and just know if you keep on keeping on, odds are you're going to end up in a great place eventually.
Yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head with a bunch of things there. I can definitely, feel that same emotion and going back into certain training environments where I was in, where you come home and you come home to an empty apartment and you're like, wow, I feel like I just had the worst session of my life. And there's nobody there to kind of like, take your mind off it or talk about something else or make you feel at ease to it. And I think you've kind of said something here in the podcast that I think is probably the best piece of advice that you can give to a footballer. And it's something it took me, and I'm still not even great at it today, but it's taken me forever to kind of get to a point of controlling just the things that you can control, right? Like I know you've said it a bunch here, and it has to be something that I think everyone adopts because, like you said, there are things that are really out of your control when it comes to a career like this. You might get dropped, and you might get dropped because of your performance. You might get dropped for other reasons when it comes to a team week in and week out. You might have injuries. You might have contracts that fall through, scholarships that fall through. Some of it's in your control, and a lot of it, so much of it, unfortunately, is really out of your control. And so when you can kind of get to a point where you can just, like you said, show up, put in the work that you know that you're capable of, give your best that you can each and every day, and the rest is going to play out. The rest is going to play out. And it's a hard thing, especially, because there's so much emotion tied into the game and we love it so much and we want to control all these different aspects of it. But the more that you can learn to let go of those certain things that you just can't change, you just can't control, I think it's going to help you that much more. And I guess I wonder for you, how did you, over the years of playing, how did you really become solid in that mindset? Because I'm sure maybe when you were younger, there were probably more things that would get you upset, and even when it was out of your control. So how do you kind of now, as a pro for a couple of years and a college player for that many years, how did you adapt that mindset of I'm going to control what I can control, and that's about it?
Yeah, and like you said, I'm still working on it today. So for anyone out there, I mean, long way from being perfect in this sense, but I mean, just got to really, like I said, I feel like we talked about a little bit earlier, all the setbacks and kind of failures that I went through from an earlier age. And, I didn't find success or, things going my way when I thought they should have been. I didn't stop then. And I feel like just kind of having those setbacks and stuff really, they shaped me up for kind of anything else that I've had so far in my future since I've made this jump towards the program and stuff. Just because, I mean, like I said, there's going to be days or instances where, like you said, you get dropped, you pick up an injury, whatever it may be, things just don't go your way and you just can't stop. So, I would say that's probably the biggest piece is just, you got to go through failures to get to the top. I mean, nothing is ever, like I said earlier, a straight shot. Those setbacks and failures, I feel like, really define who you are. And it's not it's just everything you learn from it and what you take away from it. I mean, not every failure is a failure. I think that Giannis Antetokounmpo quote video. I'm not sure if people saw that when Milwaukee Bucks got knocked out of the NBA playoffs, but I mean, that just says everything you need to know if you're involved in elite sport. I mean, failures aren't failures. If you can learn to learn from them, they're only going to help you at the end of the day and make you stronger and a better person. So I feel like just going through those hardships, probably one, or what helped me, but then also two, the little things that I do, I mean, every day. I feel like if you put in the work and you are prepared, then you've got nothing really to fear or anything, because you know you are ultimately doing all you can do at the end of the day. So I feel like that goes a long way too. And then also the little things that have probably made, they're supplemental things that I feel like have made a big difference for me. And that's meditation's a huge thing. I've been in some pretty dark places throughout my footballing career, and I know everyone else has gone through the same thing. So meditation's definitely a big thing, just to bring yourself back in the present and know that, the hardships that you're facing right now, they're not going to last for forever. And if you, like I've said, do the right things, you're going to be able to find your way out of them. And, no storm lasts for forever, and football can change so quick. So meditation, yoga, journaling, those are all big mental things that I feel like have really helped me kind of, not just keep all my thoughts and emotions just boiled up inside. You got to kind of bring them to the surface and be aware and present with how you're feeling and stuff, because if you're not feeling yourself at the end of the day, then you're not going to be able to perform like yourself. So the biggest thing is, just kind of having clarity and just belief that you're doing all you can and controlling all you can do, and putting yourself, in the best position to find success and stuff like that. So yeah, that's probably the best thing I could say, just experiences and then little things like that kind of made a difference. But don't be afraid to learn from your failures, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of those little things have definitely allowed me to take a further step in my career as well. Like, I think meditation for such a long time, I used to think of it as like this sort of like, really, how can it, what can it really do for you? And I think it's a really fascinating thing to, if you look at your day, there's so many things that we are constantly thinking about and constantly, all right, this is what I have to do today, and this is what's going on back home, and I think our minds kind of race constantly, and also we're very task oriented, and especially as a professional athlete, you need to think about, okay, this is what I need to eat today, this is what I need to accomplish from a workout standpoint, from a training standpoint, this is how my body's feeling. So that's it's a really interesting exercise, and you don't understand how difficult it is until you actually try and do it, to just, hey, sit there and try and clear your mind. And whether it's you start with 5 minutes, 6 minutes, as simple as that can really kind of provide, as you mentioned there, some clarity into your day and into your mind, and then to give yourself that power of understanding that you can always bring yourself back to that point. I know it's something for me, I think that's helped me a little bit in terms of actually playing, as well as like before games, trying to get more to that, more of like a meditative state, rather than like when I was younger, it was always about, let me try and hype myself up and kind of be very crazy. You want to be more in the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that probably has been another added benefit for you when it comes to kind of in the match as well, having that ability to hone your focus that much more on the task at hand, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just obviously just kind of being isolated. And so far, I live by myself here. So just kind of like I said earlier, coming home from games, matches, whatever it may be, and, not being able to really bounce your ideas or what you're feeling off of, mom, dad, sister, whoever it may be. I feel like that's definitely helped me quite a bit, just to kind of find presence and, reset myself almost in a way and just kind of relax. And, like I said, I feel like it's kind of helping me in a way. Like, I'm not going to let a bad training session or a bad game, stuff like that kind of define my whole day anymore. My mood, how I'm feeling. Yeah. Obviously, football is very important, but at the end of the day, life's, so much bigger than just football. So you got to be in a great place mentally, I feel, and it just really does help so much, I feel, when just in so many different aspects. But I was kind of the same way. I had a teammate actually at Akron who you had on the podcast recently, Danilo Rajan, and he's kind of the one who first got me into it. So, I've been doing it for probably 3-4 years now, but more seriously, like more consistently, like I'd say almost every day now since I've been in Sweden. I can't tell you the difference that it's made. Honestly, it's unbelievable. So just to kind of find that presence and balance, just like you said before a match, and just kind of get yourself, feeling right and balanced and just calm and relaxed. It just goes such a long way. Just, yeah, find that mental clarity is definitely an important piece of, being a footballer.
Yeah. And I don't know, one of my favorite things I think in learning, and it's something that's helped me as well, especially hearing it from you, hearing it from players like Danilo and others, is almost to have a little bit of I guess, a dissociation with the game to a certain extent. And I guess what I mean by that is kind of how you alluded to there, that, you know, you're not going to anymore in your career let a bad training session, a bad game, a bad touch, a bad pass really bring you down quite to the same levels that maybe it has in the past. And there's still always a level of, like you said, learning from your failures and taking that next step forward beyond that. But I don't know. I think it's funny. You don't want to give the advice to a younger player of like, you know, don't hold so much weight on the game. But I think there's almost kind of a freeing element of that to when you look at the game, and like you said, you go in and you work as hard as you can, but kind of off the pitch, you keep that place sacred as well, and you don't let all the other things, that all the emotions and things that you were feeling on the pitch carry with you when you go back home and kind of bring you down. And I think it's a really important thing, and I don't know, I speak about it on this podcast probably ad nauseum, so people are probably sick of me saying it, but like the identity of a footballer versus somebody who just plays football, right? And I think sometimes for us, we can get so ingrained in I'm a footballer, and then it becomes difficult when you're not playing well, and you're like, well, if I'm a footballer and I'm not playing well, what does that mean about me, right? So it's like I can play football and I can play my best, or maybe not play my best, and I can still have that separation, that separation of church and state, so to speak, when it comes to off the field as well. And it sounds like that's something for you that maybe over the course of the past couple of years in Sweden, you've really kind of brought that on board as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I feel like that's definitely just something that I've kind of learned over the years as well. And this is probably something that I would definitely recommend to all the younger um, footballers out there as well. Just that everyone's path to the top in professional game is different. So don't get stuck and fixated on this, that there's one way to get there, and, that's how I have to do it. You can be any age, you can be any position, you can play anywhere. And I mean, it's never too late. I feel like if you're dedicated and you know that you're truly doing all you can to put in the work and set yourself up for the best opportunity to play pro. I mean, there's just looking back at it from, I think now when I was younger, I feel like I probably wish I would have maybe taken a bit of the pressure off me. Kind of like we said, I mean, you need to just be so focused when you're that age. Like if you want to do it, you have to be 500% committed, like all in, make sacrifices. Like, I mean, you don't believe, but at the end of the day, you just need to believe. I feel that if you are doing the work, then you just have to have patience and know that if you're proactive, something will come up eventually. So just don't get turned off or, pushed away by the fact that you're not having, success as, instant or fast as you may want. Like I said, everyone's path to the top is different. It may take some people longer to get there than others. And if my example isn't probably the perfect case of that, I mean, I had a year and a half where I thought I had a pro contract right in front of me, and, I had to wait to sign it. So, and I was 23 when I signed my first pro contract. So a little bit later than I probably would have wanted to. No, I think I was 22 actually. Either way, later than I would have wanted to, but nonetheless, still did it. So young people out there, don't feel like there's, an expiration date on your career. I mean, yeah, I also have to be realistic, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you're putting in the work and, putting yourself in these situations and environments and stuff, just know that over time, if you're patient, persistent, proactive, you're going to give yourself a very good chance of ending up where you want to, end up.
Yeah. And as you said there, man, it's, you probably wouldn't have even scripted this story to getting you to the professional game. And it's something that I love about doing this show is I'm very fascinated with the idea of story and the idea of a player's story and how they got to where they are. And so as we've kind of laid out the chapters so far of how you've gotten to here, where do you feel like you're at in the story of your playing career? What chapter would you kind of say you're in right now? And maybe what are some of the ones that you're looking to write in the coming years?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I was kind of thinking about this morning. I went on, like I said, we had a long away trip yesterday. So went on a long walk this morning, just kind of flush the legs out and just thinking about the match and everything yesterday. And I feel like I've always kind of been someone who's been a late developer throughout my career. So hopefully I'm just at the point where I'm just getting started. So I feel like I really haven't found, or reached the level that I think that I can perform at in the program. So I have high ambitions, high aspirations, like, many other footballers out there and stuff. So I'm 25 now and take care of myself very well, off the field, diet, sleep, stuff like that. And I feel like with the way kind of, the advances that we're finding out now, just, if you do all that stuff and take care of yourself, you can really, extend your career, hopefully into your 30s. So I love football, always have, always will. And I just love competing, honestly. That's probably the biggest piece for me. I love competing, being in an environment where you have to, push yourself outside your comfort zone day in and day out, and being surrounded by, a great group of guys in the locker room is just the icing on the cake. So hopefully just really getting started. And so I've been here in Sweden now for 2 years, but I'm open to seeing where my footballing career, goes, whether it's somewhere else in Europe. Hopefully one day the goal is to end up a little bit closer to home, my friends and family and stuff like that. I think it'd be great to go back in America someday. So we'll see. But like I said, just got to take it day by day, and you can't look too far into the future. Just do the right things day in and day out, and let the rest take care of itself. But for now, I'm just going to keep the head down, keep grinding, and enjoy the rest of the season. And yeah, we'll see where it takes me. But hopefully, just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great way to put it. I think that's what's very unique about pro careers is it's like you have all these big goals and aspirations, but you really need to. The only way to get there is to, like you said, focus on the day to day. It's the perfect way to put it. Yeah, man, I can't thank you enough for taking some time, like you said, after a busy season so far, a busy schedule, and I know it's an off day, so those are definitely sacred as well. But I really appreciate you taking the time, and we're looking forward to seeing how how the rest of that story unfolds, as you just said there.
Yeah, man, thank you very much. I'm so glad that we were finally able to get together and do this. Really appreciate your time and for having me. And I think it's awesome what you do. Definitely listened to a ton of your podcasts before, and think it's a great way to just kind of bring the footballing community together. And I wish more stuff like this was available when I was definitely growing up and trying to break into the program, because I feel like just listening to stuff like this and hearing other people's experiences and journeys definitely goes a long way, just because you get so fixated, I feel, nowadays with the media and social media, whatever it may be, that you just see what footballers, at the top, what their lives may look like. But behind the scenes, obviously, for so many, it's so different. So yeah, thank you again for just letting me share my story, my experience, my journey and everything. And I really enjoyed the time, and wish you all the best and the rest of your time in Australia and all that. And hopefully we stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That is it for this week's episode. Thank you to Alex once again. Thank you to all of you out there for your continued listenership, your continued support. I would encourage you, whatever platform you are listening or watching on, to show your support in some way, whether it's liking, commenting, subscribing, following, sharing, reposting, whatever it may be. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.